Hi, it's Dr. Gold here. I wanted to take a moment to just explore the personal financial plan assignment because we're in week 2 of the course, and it's really important that you get jump started on this project as soon as possible. So how do you access the information for the project? This again is our homepage for the course. And if you go to the Personal Financial Plan Assignments folder over here on the left-hand side menu, you'll see 3 different sections. Section 1 has instructions. Section 2 has different templates that you'll use as part of the project. And Section 3 has other resources available to help you do a really good job with this project. So let's dive into the instructions and see kind of where we're at with all of this stuff. The Personal Financial Plan project, first of all, is worth 75 points of your total grade, and it's due no later than Thursday, April 23rd, 2015 by 12 p.m. If you do not complete this assignment by that date, your assignment will not be accepted late. So it's really important that you get started with this now, and that's why I'm taking the time to provide you with this video. The project itself should be a minimum of 8 to 12 pages long. Many students do many more pages than that. Some of the best projects I've seen students work on have been 20 pages. And the reason for that is let me think, 5 of the pages are actual Excel spreadsheets, which I'll show you how to access in a moment. You're going to do a monthly budget for the month of February, for the month of March, and for the month of April. So that's 3 pages right there. You're going to do what's called a personal balance sheet, which is a snapshot in time of how much you own versus how much you owe and what your net worth is. So that's 4 pages. And then you're going to do a cash flow statement, which is going to project how much cash is flowing in and out of your personal life over the months of February, March, and April as well. So that's 5 pages right there. The remaining portion of the assignment is going to be your narrative and written content that you produce. The format is to always do your work in Microsoft Word, use a 12-point font, and double space it. Please check over your spelling and grammar or have somebody else look over the document for you before you submit it. Your work is always a reflection of who you are as a person, and oftentimes in life, like for example, when you go apply for a job, the resume and cover letter you submit to the employer may be the first time they have a chance to assess what kind of employee you might be. So it's very important to make sure that the work that you write or the written content you produce is an accurate reflection of who you are as an individual. And that involves you getting other people to look over your material and for you yourself to review it in detail. The guidelines and really the steps for completing the project include a cover page, and honestly, during week 2 of the course, you should at least open up Microsoft Word and produce a cover page and table of contents and then save that document on your computer. If you don't own Microsoft Word, you can come on campus and you can access Microsoft Word through any of the computers that are available to students. Or you can download Microsoft Word through the HCC website at no cost to you at all. But you have to do it in Microsoft Word, and you really need to get the document at least created and saved so you can then add to it as you move along. So I would say do the cover page. You don't need to know anything about finance to do that, and the cover page should include these items here. Do on page 2 the table of contents and list these 5 categories here, which we'll talk about in a second. And then save that document and call it, Personal Financial Plan Project and know where it is, and then go back to it each week and add to it as you think of things that you're learning or think of things that you want to write about. Section 3, which is going to be the 3rd page, is going to be where you insert your financial spreadsheets. Those spreadsheets, again, will include a budget for the month of February, which is one page, a budget for the month of March, and a budget for the month of April. You'll also have your personal balance sheet in there and a cash flow statement. That'll kind of come after the table of contents. After you've put your financial statements in, you'll then do an analysis of your financial statements. This will involve using different ratios. I've provided a table at the bottom of this document with different financial ratios, how to calculate them, how to interpret the information that we get from these ratios. You'll also learn about this in Chapter 2. I have a video in Module 2 that covers Chapter 2 and touches on some of these ratios as well. So in Section 4 is where you're going to use the ratios to analyze the health of your current financial situation. And you'll critically discuss, what are the strengths and weaknesses that are present and what you have planned to resolve those problems. For example, do you have large debt levels? Are you consistently running a budget deficit, which means that each month you're spending more money than you're earning? What's your plan for fixing those things? Are you going to get a second job? Are you going to reduce your spending? Are you going to sell an asset to offset the budget deficit? What do you have planned? Because doing nothing is not a solution, so you've got to have some sort of plan in place. After you've sort of analyzed your financial documents, you'll then go into this section here, 5, which is aspirations and contingency planning. And in this section, you'll talk about things like what type of career do you want to have? How much education do you want to pursue? If you have a career in place right now, are you pleased with that career? And if not, what's your plan for altering or changing that career path? Do you own real estate? Do you want to own real estate? And what's your plan for doing that? How much savings do you have, if any? And if you don't have any, which is not uncommon, figuring out how much money you think you need to have in savings in case of an emergency. All of those things will be discussed in this section, aspirations and contingency planning. Contingency planning is backup planning, all the what ifs. What if I lose my job? What if I have an emergency? What if my car breaks? And thinking about how you're going to deal with all of those things and where the resources will come from to address those problems when they come up. And believe me, they do come up, as you probably already know. The next section is the savings, investment, and retirement planning section here. In this section, you're going to say to yourself, do I want to retire? Some people say, well, yeah, of course, Professor Gold, who doesn't want to retire? But the evidence seems to suggest that some people don't want to retire. It used to be, for example, years ago when my parents and grandparents got out of school, that they would get a job and kind of have this career for a long time with a company, and then ultimately retire after they had accumulated a pension or retirement fund. But today it's just not like that. People are working longer, living longer, not retiring as much for many reasons, sometimes because of poor financial planning. From my perspective, I want all of my students to just have a choice of whether or not they retire or not, or in a position to be able to retire or continue working. I'm all about giving students choices, and the only way you can ever have that choice, should I retire, should I keep working, is to have enough money to be able to say, you know what, I'd like to retire and maintain the standard of living that I currently have. But if you never work toward having that financial safety net in place, then the choice is taken away from you. And you can't retire. You have to keep working. You have to keep doing stuff. And that may not be what it is you prefer. So in this section, you're going to talk about all of that stuff. Do you want to retire? How much money do you think you'll need to retire? Like in your mind, think about it right now and pause this video and say, how much money do I need when I'm 65 or 70 years old to be able to retire? What is that dollar amount? And write it down on a piece of paper and then think about it. Think about whether or not that dollar amount is actually going to be enough for you to live a life that you'd want to live in the future. For example, a lot of people might say, well, I want to have $1,000,000. And that's a lot of money, but $1,000,000 in 30 or 40 years from now isn't going to feel like $1,000,000 feels today. It's going to feel like a lot less because the cost of stuff just goes up over time. So just kind of think through all of that in this section and use this section to explain what your plan is. The last section, the summary section, is going to be something that summarizes, where you think your financial health is on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is pretty bad, and 10 is you think you're in perfect financial shape. And then you'll discuss what your self-reflection indicates and what you plan to do to improve your score. All right, so that's the personal financial plan project in a nutshell. Where you get the resources to help you do it are also in this section here on Blackboard in section 2. So let's just look quickly at what these templates are. The first one I'm going to look at is the budget, because you need to get this done headed into February, because that's the first month that you need to budget for. So here's the monthly budget. And you'll notice here there's a couple of sections, what's your projected monthly income versus what's your actual income at the end of the month. Some of you might have a job, some of you might be living off of financial aid, some of you might just have your parents helping you out. I don't really know what the source of income is for you, but think about when you spend money, where is that money coming from? That would be your projected income for that month. So how do you do a budget for the month of February? Well, you click over here where it says monthly budget, and then you click up into the top of Excel into this section and put in here February 2015, and you hit enter, and then you begin to put in what you think you're going to be spending money on in these different categories. So if you have rent is what's referred to as a fixed cost. So that's going to be whatever it is. Let's say it's $600, and the actual cost you already know is going to be $600. Gas is what's called a variable cost. It's something that changes month to month. So you might say, well, I think I'm going to spend $125 on gas. I'll wait till the end of February and then see how much I actually spent on gas and plug that number in. As it turns out, maybe you end up spending $150 on gas for the month of February. So you plug that in, and it shows you here that you've overspent in this category by $25. So what I would do is immediately start populating the budget with all of your guesses for these different categories. And there's many, many different categories, some fixed expenses, some variable expenses, like, for example, food. Food would include groceries, eating out. If you own a pet, do you purchase the food for your pet, or is it something you have at your parents' house where your parents are paying for that? That you wouldn't include. Only include things that you actually spend money on for yourself, and get the projected column filled in with all of the different expenses that you have. If you go out, if you go to concerts, if you go to clubs, whatever it is you do, there's nothing here that says clubs, but you could put that in other, for example. Put that stuff in so at least you know how much in your mind you think you spend a month, and then at the end of February, you'll actually put in the money amounts that you did spend, and that's going to involve, of course, having to track all of that stuff in great detail over the course of the month. So that's the budget. The other two documents that you kind of need to work on and be aware of is the personal balance sheet, which we'll talk about in a later video, and the cash flow statement, which we'll also talk about in a later video. For now, get the personal financial document created in Microsoft Word and do the cover page and the table of contents, and get the budget template set up with at least your guesses for the month of February in terms of how you're going to spend money in these different categories. So that's it for the Personal Financial Plan project. It's a great project. I hope you get a lot out of it. The key is to start working on it right away and to not wait.